everyone. How are you? Well, wonderful. My name is Megan Lucas, and I'm privileged to be the CEO of the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. For those of you who are familiar, it used to be called the Region 2000 Economic Development Council, and it also used to be called the Lynchburg Regional Chamber of Commerce. In December, the two boards, the Regional Chamber and the Regional EDO, decided to get married. So on January 1st, we stood up the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, which is a Chamber of Commerce and regional economic development organization. At its very heart, economic development is about two things: jobs, job creation, job retention, or jobs and capital investment. From the regional perspective, our job is to go out beyond the borders of the greater Lynchburg region and Virginia and tell the story about why our region is a wonderful place to grow and expand a business, to relocate a business. We're fortunate to have, we call them the RED team, the Regional Economic Development Team. They are the local economic developers that call our region home. For example, the region that I represent is the County of Appomattox. I'm using my fingers, from Nebraska, so it's important. Shoes will come off shortly. But Appomattox, Amherst, Bedford, Campbell counties, the city of Lynchburg, and the towns of Amherst, Appomattox, and Alta Vista. Now, there are other towns in that footprint, but those are the municipalities that pay economic development dollars to be a part of our regional economic development organization. Those economic developers are the RED team, the Regional Economic Development Team. They are the best group of economic developers I've ever had the privilege to work with, from Alabama, Tennessee, to Nebraska, and then here in this wonderful state of Virginia. We get together on a monthly basis. We work hand in hand on regional and local economic development initiatives. Certainly, each one of them is an employee of their municipality. As such, it's the taxpayers in those communities who pay their bills and pays their salary. And the expectation from council members, as you well know, is that they generate new jobs and capital investment in their borders, in their municipalities, because then what happens? That impacts the local tax base and everybody is happy. From the regional perspective, my role is to not look at those look at the localities boundaries, but look at the regional boundaries. When we go out to recruit an industry, that industry is really interested in one critical thing. What is it? The one thing. Workforce. And if I go to Boeing, and Boeing is not coming to Lynchburg, but if I go to Boeing, and Boeing says, Megan, we want 1,000 acres on rail, and we need 1,500 jobs. What is your workforce? And I say, well, I'm going to put you in, pick one community that I just named. And I'm going to say, well, I'm going to put you in community X, and their workforce is 6,000. Boeing is not even going to consider us. Boeing's not going to consider us with a workforce of 125,000. The workforce is not big enough. That really is one of the key reasons that we talk about regional economic development. And it's also a battle, as Lisa said, not everybody embraces regionalism, because we all want the jobs and capital investment and the announcement in my community. We want it now. But for us, from the regional perspective, we want to get people into the region, and then that company will choose the best community that's ideal for them. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned how we used to be the Regional Chamber and the Regional EDO, and now we're married. That's taken a little bit to get used to. I'm from the Midwest. It's a platform that is prevalent in the Midwest, where chambers of commerce from Texas to Minnesota do traditional business-to-business, economic chamber sorts of things, and economic development. So this is a relatively new model that we dared to do in Virginia, and I'm 6 months into it and still have a job. Thank God. But it isn't without its ups and downs. I'll tell you, from a regional perspective, our region is very good at being collaborative and they communicate on a regular basis. We're very collaborative. We do spit nails and flip a table on occasion because we don't always agree. But the value and the message that I'm trying to send on a regular basis is jobs and capital investment in this region. And one of the big myths that I deal with on a regular basis is, well, you're the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, Megan. So that means when you get an RFI, request for information, you call Lynchburg first and say, do you want first dibs? And the answer to that is absolutely not. If I'm not anything, I am a woman of integrity, and we're an organization of integrity. So when those leads come to us, whether they're generated by our friends at VDP, at any number of utility companies or site selectors, or we generate them ourselves. They go to all the economic developers, they go to that red team at the exact same time. Even if I know that Alta Vista or Bedford doesn't have the product to service that RFI, they all get it all at the same time. And there's it's a lot of extra effort to make sure that all the teammates, regardless of the level they pay into the pot for regional economic development, feel that they are appreciated as equals. I have, back on the table I've given you, there's a document that's kind of orange. It tells you about the organization, what we do and how we do it. In a nutshell, the local economic developers are responsible for growing and sustaining the industries that already call their communities home. They are the business retention and expansion arm. For example, this week, Dennis Jarvis and Alta Vista just announced a $34 million capital investment with 56 new jobs for Abbott Nutrition in Alta Vista. That's a fabulous building expansion. My engagement as the regional economic developer was minimal on that. But if I bring a company in and it goes to Dennis, then I continue to work that project with him. The economic developers at the local level are busy growing and sustaining their economic base. Our role is to tell the story nationally and internationally and bring leads back in and help those leads choose the community that best suits them. Lately, I've been trying to find the best analogies, so I'm open for suggestions. But lately, I've been telling people, think of us as the car dealership. My job is to get the customer into the dealership, and when they get there, they're going to choose that pickup truck that's Appomattox, or that Ferrari that's Campbell County, or the Jeep that's Bedford. But I got to get them in the car dealership. And what gets them into the region, what gets them to the car dealership is going to be labor force, infrastructure, cost of land, utilities, all those sorts of things. And ultimately, as Lisa mentioned, a rising tide lifts all boats. So it matters to Alta Vista that Abbott Nutrition expanded in Alta Vista, but 56 new jobs, they don't all live in Alta Vista. They're not all gonna live in Alta Vista. They're gonna live throughout our great region. I'm happy to answer any questions, tell you some fascinating stories about table flipping and working, because we are a true public-private partnership. So municipalities and the public sector support and finance our organization. It's great to be here. Thank you all.